Hey everybody, great to be able to join with you. Today we are carrying on with our whole series of boot camp, looking at the mountains that God has for us for this year. And today's theme is the subject of staying alert, being alert. We're going to jump straight into Matthew chapter 10, verse 16 to 20. Jesus says this to his disciples just before sending them out on their first adventure. He says, "I'm sending you out like sheep among wolves. Therefore be as shrewd as snakes and as innocent as doves. Be on your guard. You will be handed over to the local councils and be flogged in the synagogues. On my account, you will be brought before governors and kings as witnesses to them and to the Gentiles. But when they arrest you, do not worry about what to say or how to say it. At that time, you will be given what to say, for it will not be you speaking, but the Spirit of your Father speaking through you. Be alert." There's this really interesting phenomenon that when people go up a mountain, when they go to high altitudes, usually there's a general sense of euphoria because, well, there's the incredible views, the clean air. There's some really great pros about being at high altitude. It can reduce risk of heart disease. It can increase your fitness levels, but there are also some real cons at being at a high altitude. For instance, when you go above around 2,000 to 3,000 feet at altitude, you get something that is called hypoxia. And hypoxia basically decreases the levels of oxygen within your bloodstream, and it forces the body to suppress the release of serotonin, which is the chemical within our body that kind of gives us a sense of peace, gives us a sense of relaxation. And obviously with that suppression comes a heightened sense of irritability, of anxiety, and there are stories after stories of people that live for any extended period of time at high altitude falling into terrible fits of depression. In fact, the suicide rates at high altitude are 17.7 to every 100,000. They're the highest rates in the world, and they go down significantly as the altitude levels drop down to lower land. So it's this fascinating thing about the altitude having both the positive and the negative. Throughout Scripture, we see this running theme of God calling his people to the mountains to meet with them. So whether that is Moses on Mount Sinai that is burning with fire and is covered with the glory of God, whether it's Elijah crying out to God for rain, whether it's Jesus being transfigured and his disciples thinking, "Oh my goodness, this is the Son of God," there are these incredible moments of encounter. But here's the deal. We were never supposed to live metaphorically on those mountains. We were never supposed to live in the midst of those mountaintop experiences because the euphoria dies down, the dopamine hit wanes, and then we end up feeling at a loss, just looking for our next hit. What happens in the mountain was never supposed to stay in the mountain. It was supposed to empower us and impact us to then take out what has happened to us on those mountaintop experiences to impact the world around us. And so right up front, Jesus says to his disciples, "I'm sending you into dangerous territory and into dangerous spaces." I love that he doesn't hide that fact. There they are on the mountain. He's like, "It's been great, guys, but now it's time to get out there and take what you have imbibed and what you have learned from me and take it out and impact the world around you. And it's not going to be easy." Sometimes when we talk about church, when we talk about Christianity and our desire to call people into this amazing movement of Jesus, sometimes we act more like we're inviting them to a country club, when Jesus' call is more like a roll call for an army. Never mind base camp, we're talking about boot camp. I mean, Jesus lays it on the line and says it is going to be hard. You are going to be misunderstood. You are going to face extreme hardship. You know, it has been proven through studies that Christianity is the most persecuted worldview of all time. In the last century, it's estimated that around 45 million people lost their lives on account of their faith. So whether in ancient times it was in the Roman Colosseum with gladiators and lions and bears, or whether in the last century, millions alongside out of the 11 million that died in the Holocaust, 3 million were Christians. And in the gulags in Siberia and behind the bamboo and the Iron Curtain, persecution against Christians is rife. And in our day and age, maybe we don't see it so much, well, because we live in the Western mountaintops and we live in our kingdoms of comfort and security. But the reality out there is that we are facing hostile territory with an enemy that hates us and is hell-bent on our destruction. So Jesus saying to them, "Your sheep among wolves," was a very apt description. Because you see, sheep are, whilst they were sacred, they were the main animal that was used for the temple sacrifices. Sheep are docile and sheep are dependent on the voice and the protection of their shepherd. So what is Jesus saying? Jesus is saying, I'm sending you out into dangerous ground, but don't forget, I am going to be there with you. I am going to be right alongside you. This idea of sheep and wolves is used all throughout the Jewish writings, the Midrash, but it's always used of the Jewish people amongst the wolf nations around them. And even today, oh my goodness, Israel, this nation the size of Wales, is surrounded by nations from the tip of North Africa all the way through to the tip of Saudi Arabia, hell-bent on their destruction. But what Jesus is saying is, I am sending you to the lost sheep of Israel, and you're going to find that you've got extreme enmity from within. And he says, when you do that, I want you to be as shrewd as serpents and as innocent as doves. Interesting, right? There's so many animals here, a menagerie of animals that Jesus is talking about. There's sheep, there's wolves, there's serpents, there's doves. Well, serpents are known for being able to be astute, to be able to be cunning, to know when to hide and when to strike. But that word shrewd that he uses basically is the word, I don't want you to be naive. I want you to be aware of your surroundings. I want you to recognize that whilst, you're not lions going out among wolves, you are neither sheep going out among daisies, you are stepping out into hostile territory. So you need to be wise. You need to be aware. And then he says, but I don't want you to act like a serpent. I don't want you to act in that kind of way that is cunning. I want you to be as innocent as doves. And he uses the Greek word there for this idea of being pure, without hidden agendas, without mixed motives. God calls us to be alert, to be shaken out of our apathy, to step out into difficult, uncomfortable situations without a naivety and without mixed agendas. Because when we do that, the shepherd will be right there to back us up. He'll be right there standing with us. And those guys came back with incredible stories when they stepped out of our comfort zone. I believe that God is shaking us out of our apathy. I believe that this year is a year of awakening. It's a year where we move away from just being comfortable on our mountaintop, just being drowned in our opulence and our apathy, and being able to move out into those places. Because believe me, when we do, we will see the greatest adventures that we've ever imagined, and life will become more exciting than anything that you've ever experienced before. So let's decide to be alert, to be shaken up, and to step out again as sheep among wolves. God bless you.